Hello, Andrew.
Hey, oh, I see you have a Skype camera. How lovely. I don't have one, but glad to see your face there. Wonderful sight. But I prefer not to keep my face shown because everybody says I have a great radio voice. It makes sense to keep my face off camera. But great to have you on. And I introduced you at the beginning. I don't know if you were listening to that on the Capricorn Radio YouTube channel. If you weren't, I did talk about how I first met you at Rob Potter's conferences. I don't think you need to get into detail about how you severed contract ties with him. That's not really important. And of
No.
course, yeah, and of course, I saw you at the at Tolex conference, which was a conference to remember in many ways. And you did tell me something at that conference that I remember well. That's going to resonate with me for a while, and maybe later on I'll ask you to explain what you exactly you meant by that when you told me what you told me. But I want to get to know you, and so does the rest of the audience now. So I don't know if you have a really big household name compared to a lot of other people in the spirituality community. You do have your own website and all, but I mean, how many other radio programs have you been on besides before this one?
Oh no, I'm being graced with you for the first time.
Really? Okay, so for the sake of all those people who aren't familiar with you, I think I'll give you the chance to tell your life story. Now, you do have a lot about that in your website, universalconsciousmind.com, the front page, the home page, and also the My Awakening page. So I did read that a couple days ago to help me prepare for this interview, but I'm going to let you have the floor to tell your life story there to set the tone for the rest of this interview. So you got the floor. Tell us anything and everything, enlightened, awaken, tell your life story, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, probably my first question is how long have I got?
You got as long as, well, okay, I'm assuming it wouldn't take you any more than 30 minutes
Okay,
to go over everything that's kind of on these two pages here in great detail. But all right,
just making
if
sure.
it's a little past 30 minutes, I'm not gonna be upset or anything. So you got the floor. I won't interrupt you.
That's fine. I only asked because the shift that I went through was so vast. So I'll stick to what is on the website. In 2011, just prior to 2011 in November, I'm sure everybody felt the same. There was a lot of things going on. I had been with my twin flame and in his presence for 2 years, and I've been touring the world as a musician, international professional musician. Anyway, we were together for a long time. We were going to keep in our relationship, although father died. Father passed over, should I say, because I don't believe in death anymore. And that sort of changed things. I was then out of time. I had no time. For 3 days, I could see ashes, volcanoes, fireballs in the sky, all sorts of stuff going on that I've never really got into detail with. So I was, you could say, off planet. And I had decided, because I was hearing people talking to me, and I was getting worked on in my bed, and I was getting told to relax. I'm being, you could say, attacked, but that wasn't the word that was used. So I was feeling that I could hear helicopters and planes and black helicopters and planes, all sorts of things going on. But mainly I was being worked on etherically, and I could feel that. It was wonderful. I had beings touching me. I couldn't see them. I could only see lights, flickers of lights now and then. Anyway, so much was happening, and I gave up smoking in those 3 days because I thought I'm not going to lose my twin flame over this. So they kept saying, let everything go. So I was a little confused on what they meant by that. So I let everything go, including the organic cigarette smoking. During that period, I realized that 3 days was the what some people call the dark soul, or the 3 days of darkness, or whatever word a person may use. So I was seeing multidimensional. I was seeing people coming through the ground. I was seeing things coming in the sky. I was seeing metallic objects that had no scientific value of direction. They would go up, down, round, up. There was nothing there. So much was going on, I decided that I flew home to New Zealand, where I actually originally incarnated in this body. I flew home and it just got even more vast. I was told I was in quarantine and I had to stay there, and I was needed there. So I stayed there and found it very hard and reluctant to, how would you say, work in a third dimensional physical reality. Eventually I ended up going to a job very reluctantly and working to get enough money to get back to America to my twin flame. I was met with my Archangel Michael. Ashtar was communicating with me, and I was told that my fourth dimensional galactic name is Myra, and I'm part of that crew. That's when I realized I was mostly Pleiadian at that level. I'm saying in that dimension. I was shown certain things in dream time that I would be doing in what we call the bridge, which is like a fourth dimension, and that's when one is God source, and they're connected to the divine feminine and masculine. They're above fourth dimension at this part. Then it goes into fourth dimension, which is what we call a bridge, and from that bridge we have to create duality, to exist in a physical manifestation. So it's there, duality. You see or feel or choose fear or love. So that's a very tricky little bridge that we've been trying to clear. And those are mainly just nothing to do with any being that exists in a physical body, a portal, we call it, a vessel. It is a program. Those are where the programs can be created. So if one chooses love, then they'll experience uplifting, joyful experiences. If there's a program that's overrunning in the airwaves, as we call it, like an antenna, then they could be tricked into an illusion, which all fear is an illusion. Anyhow, I spent 9 months in New Zealand under quarantine, seeing multidimensional realities. Archangel Michael, I know this sounds a little weird, but he loves helicopters. And I was also told that all the planes, the commercial planes, all the planes that fly in the air are owned by us. So if anything, all pilots, they might not know that. And I've never really said this before, but it's true. As I flew on the planes back to America, I was actually helicopter ride to the airport, and I was experiencing ascension process for, it's a famous singer, Whitney Houston. She'd just passed over at this time, and I was getting her coming through me with the helicopter ride based on the movie, of course. So I flew back. I ended up on a black plane. I love black. It's my favorite color, along with gold and brown. Ended up on a black plane. I was told it was colored for me, with 144 people on board. We arrived in LA. We were not flown into the international LAX airport. We were, what would you call it, dimensionally portaled to the back way. So we actually landed somewhere I never knew existed, or it doesn't exist in this dimension, but another dimension. We were told by the pilot, we're doing a different landing. We're going through a little back private area, and then you'll all be escorted from the plane onto buses, and then you will be put into doorways at the airport. So nothing unusual has happened. I totally understood this, because at this point I understood that the 144 that were on the plane with me were very important, as you know that number, and 144,000. I then went back to San Diego, not knowing what to do. I saw multidimensional realities, still the same stuff going on. My computer would virtually not turn itself on. I would have to push power, but if I pushed power and I went onto a channel, it would virtually flash up with whatever things I needed to look at. In New Zealand, in the 9 months, I'll just go back a little bit. In New Zealand, in the 9 months that I was there in quarantine, I was told, I researched everything that I knew, that I had been shown. I knew nothing about science. I flunked science. I didn't even go to my science class at school because it was like, why am I learning this? This is so old. I had no idea what I was meaning, but I do now. Everything that I was shown, I researched. So the people that I saw out of the ground, I had to go, well, people coming out of ground, you know. No, I'd type it in, nothing would come up. I'd go, spirits underground. No, nothing would come up. I'd go, they were coming out of the ground as if it was hollow. So I typed hollow ground. And that's when I understood what hollow earth meant, because then that came up. So everything I researched, I'd already seen. I was fully conscious of everything in the passing of the portal, a very large portal. I'll just say that. I was shown, so I went back to San Diego, where I was going before I went back to that little bit, and my computer would do its normal thing again, and I was told, it typed itself, this is Ashtar, you know, the Ashtar command again, go to the mountain. Well, that's great. I'm in America. There's got to be 1,000 mountains here. So I researched mountains around San Diego, and the closest that I could find was a place called Idlewild. So I went there for 2 days and went, well, this is lovely, but this isn't it. And so I drove all the way back to San Diego, sat in front of my computer. No sooner did I turn it on, I had a channel thrown up in front of me saying Mount Shasta Conference 2014, I think it was said. 2014, yes. And I just instantly went, this is it. So I researched on trying to find out where this mountain was, and when I found out it was 12 hours away, I went, oh, come on, guys. So I sort of packed my car up and put my musical stuff in storage, said goodbye to the international touring life, and drove my car up to Mount Shasta. I got to Mount Shasta knowing that the conference was on, so that was my first place to find, and that's when I found Rob Potter. But I was told to drive up and down the mountain in my car all the time, every day, up and down, day and night. So I would do that. I drove up and down the mountain day and night, picking people up, taking them down, and they just said, keep driving people up and down the mountain and welcome them to your heart. So I would do that, and I would see spirits along the way, and the gates opening. There would be spirits standing by the gate waving me through. So I ended up sleeping up on the mountain for about 6 months till it got very, very cold, and had to find another place to live, which is actually where I've ended up again right now. I just moved in again yesterday. So funny enough, divine timing. It's like it never all happened. But I've been in Mount Shasta, and during the portal shift, I wasn't very happy about leaving my twin flame, and the guides kept saying to me, you know the drill. You remember, you've got to go through the same process, and the process is this, that, disclosure, twin flames, in that order. And I went, no, I just want to be with my twin flame. So anyway, I ended up with Rob Potter, and of course we all know our conferences that we've put on. We've put on intergalactic planetary conferences, solar activations with Louis Martins, who was amazing, and his partner Raoul, not in loving partner but business partner and friend, and of course many others, and the Secret Space Program and Disclosure. I knew of my mission for the Disclosure events, and I knew I had to let it go after that to continue on with what I was told, which was the twin flames and Gaia. Well, since then I've learned a lot more. So that's what I mean by it's very vast, but I'll try and stick to this timeline. So completed Disclosure in the Secret Space Program. My higher intent was to reveal the truths of the decoding of the programs, which is what Pleiadians are known for. And I'll speculate that a little bit more, decode the old belief systems of the fear programs and reprogram them with their multi-dimensional consciousness and heart consciousness. The heart consciousness is where I am, always have been. It's been pretty tough. I've had many attacks. I've had many programs thrown on me, especially ego programs, manipulation programs, all those things that a patriotic, we call it a patriotic goddess control, which means when someone gets too high in their frequency, a program will try and come along and bring you a little down again. So be aware of that, because it's a trick. And stand your ground and stay in your heart, and always try to hold your reactions as nicely as you can. I say that now because from my moving on and letting go of those past conferences and moving towards Gaia and the Twin Flames, which is where everybody should be right now. If they haven't let go, then they're still following a story and a belief system. So the mission and alignment is to be along with Gaia and the Twin Flames, the divine masculine and divine feminine. That means there's no ego, it's not tolerated, and there's no programs of lower frequency that will get through. So I straight immediately, of course, the day I ended the Secret Space Program events, was contacted by Tolek. He's very dear to me. And I had no hesitation. I knew what this conference was about, and that's why, as you would have known as you went to that conference, how powerful it was, and with all the Indigenous and the chiefs and everyone from Dakota, and we did the Standing Rock, and everyone's got to admit since that time, Standing Rock has been a bit of a primary showing up, and that's what we do. So what I'm doing now is my mission. I don't know how else to say this, because if I said it any other way, I'd be lying, and that's not how it's supposed to be. I'm called to the conferences because I hold the portal for a very high dimension, and I have the heart of Gaia, so I understand what she has gone through, what we are going through, because we are all one. I also have multidimensional remembrances of when I was in New Zealand in my quarantine, and all these voices I could hear. Belonging, when I came back and came to Shasta, understood that I was there to put the names to the people that I already knew, that I had already heard talking to me, because there's no limits of, it's multidimensional, we're all one. So when your world collapses within you, you understand that everyone outside of you is you. It's just a matter of, oh, there's me. Oh, there's another part of me. And with Twin Flames, it's usually a masculine or a feminine in the holographic reality that we see. It'll be one or the other, or both. Could be a female with a male inside. We don't see it that way. We're androgynous, because consciousness shifting means exactly that. People can be in the fourth dimension when we're coming back from heart consciousness into fully grounded consciousness. I won't say mind consciousness, because that's part of the matrix. We can get a little ungrounded, and when we aren't ungrounded and aren't centering ourselves, we call this consciousness fusing. So it's like having 20 radio stations or 1,000 radio stations all at once, but you don't know which one you are, because you haven't grounded yourself to know who you are on your highest point. So this can create what we call consciousness fusion, or what a lot of people have known as confusion. All it means is, well, that's not me. I'll just center myself and stay fully conscious and let that one go. So that means letting go of the octopus arms, as I call it. There is something going around about some sort of arm things. And that's exactly what that sort of means in a way. So I'm in Mount Shasta now. I've just come back from the conferences in Tucson, Arizona, which is the one you attended, and then the Palm Springs one, which was magical as well. This is where we're going. I have a a lady that works beside me now. I call her my queen. There's a couple of queens in my life, and they're very, very powerful, and they're very high. And this can create major shifting. So holding that energy, Corey Good is absolutely a fantastic person. We felt each other the moment we laid eyes on each other because of the heart connection, and I don't go by anything else, but if my heart's activated, I know that's a direct contact, that's a direct hit. That's probably one of the people that came through with me. I'm going to specify if I have a certain frequency happen in my heart activation, I have no doubt in saying they're one of the parts of the 144,000, and they probably know that. So, but I have lots of lucid and astral memories of certain things, not all pretty, but I'll keep my presence on the pretty ones. And that was coming through, seeing Earth from above and being lifted up onto spaceships, if we call them spaceships. I call them Merkaba spaceships, anything that's a portal in a high realm. Just the other night I had Saint Germain, and it's been 5 days now, but 3 days ago there was a huge clearing of darkness in the heart. So there's been a huge shift, and I'm sure many people have probably felt that. I won't say probably, I know they have. And that is rather large on scope, and it had a lot to do with a very deep programming that has been removed. The presidential elections and everything sort of all goes in the same direction. If people were looking with their heart, they would see programs running. It's almost like I won't say, it was for a reason, to show programs, just like I was trying, or what I was and did do and was successful at doing at the Sacred Space program, was to hold the frequency so people could actually see programs running and identify them, name them, be aware of them, and not get caught in them. And the people with open hearts definitely would have noticed those sort of things and had a great time. So it's all been rather exciting. There are back and forth moments, or what we would say up and down moments, and that's okay. It's part of Gaia as well, her process. The conferences are very important. They're all connected, they're all one. So what happens in one very high conference happens to all. It's only the illusion of time that makes them look separate on different timelines. So like yourself, Andrew, going to, we had our beautiful moments in Mount Shasta, and I waved my arms and said, up you go. Listen, there were lots of things that were going on, and I told you, I'm so proud of you. Up you go, off you go up to the hall. I see those things running in people, and I can see them when they've been dismantled, and from the heart, and yours come from the heart. So once again, I'm very proud of you. So I'm in Mount Shasta now, looking at maybe going to Sedona pretty shortly. I was told I had to be in Sedona. I had to bypass Sedona this time from Tucson, because I've been dealing a lot with the animal kingdom and making sure that they are safe and fed and well looked after. So it's very important to me. And as you know, animals are Gaia's children, so and she loves them, so she'd never leave them abandoned. So I know that there is a time portal and a portal created already. And each time one goes to these conferences, they're creating a future portal, a future timeline, a higher timeline, and in another dimensional frequency. So when one actually goes into, like in a dream, if you went into a dimension or into a dream and never came out of it, you'd only move to the next and move forward. It's the same sort of here. When we call travel inside, it's like interdimensional traveling. I see highways as my blood vessels. I see trees as my cells, my nervous system. So I do sometimes feel when trees are getting cut without sacredness. So we ask that all things be done in sacredness and with love. I'm not a fan of X's. Souls are okay, but not X's. So all things are felt. I feel when there's earthquakes around the world, and they're usually caused through a program of an energy of fear, which is related to anger and terror. So these sort of things can happen quite a lot. It's been rather calm lately, but I did have a lot of juttas about a month ago actually, quite a lot of juttas, and I realised there was a few things going on in San Diego and things. And that's how I work. It's easier for me to actually speak the truth. I feel the earth, when my heart jutters, the earth is moving. It's tectonic plates. It's like, it's the same thing, inside outside theory. My heart is earth, even the word earth is heart. Back with the H, shift the H to the front. I feel when there's anger in the trees, my arm hurts. It doesn't at the moment, so that's nice. And it's not actually that trees that are angry. Trees don't get angry, but the people who may think that a tree getting cut down is wrong, and then they put that emotion into it, then the earth feels that emotion. So that's what we always say, no matter what, just send love, because earth and Gaia and the divines all feel that, because we're all connected. I was also introduced to Centimani stones for a couple of years now, and they've been magical. They bring me and the people that are connected to me together because of the frequency they hold. They hold source, Gaia, creator energy, the divine, what I call the triangle or the trilogy. You've got we're all one. We're all source, unconditional love, one. Then, like an atom, we can be split into two. So this is where the divine feminine and divine masculine come. At this point, we're above the matrix system, above the belief systems of what we call reality, which I call it is holographic, very holographic. And when you raise your frequencies, you can actually start to see it like a movie. It actually does look a little that way. But at this point, these two divine feminines, divine feminine and divine masculine, you're above the mind program. So there's no ego, there's no accidents don't exist, there's no fear, there's only love, there's only inspiration, there's only upliftment. And for the eyes of God and Gaia, they want to see everybody happy and joyful, because that's what brings earth joy, is when her children are happy, she's happy. I could go on forever. So just to wrap it up, I was hoping to get to Sedona in a couple of weeks on the 21st of December, because of course that is all connected to the divine feminine and divine masculine. So I'm doing my best for that. Otherwise, I'll be in Sedona in Arizona, and myself, Tracee, and a few other people are going to be putting some conferences together in Mount Shasta and Oregon. There is a small conference, but very powerful conference coming up in Oregon, and possibly in Hawaii. And hopefully I might be getting back with Tolek again. So he's amazing. He did very well with his conferences, and I'm excited about the future.
I am as well. And okay, I can hear an echo. Is that on your end? Can you hear that? Oh no, it's off. Okay, I'm not echoing anymore. All right, that happened the last show too. As soon as I came on after giving my guest the floor at the beginning, I heard myself in an echo. But anyway, send me email of every single conference that you're going to go to. I'm going to try to make them, if I don't have the money, I'll try to see myself going to the conferences, law of attraction style, and hopefully all the things will go in place to help me go to all those conferences. I got a whole slew of list of conferences in 2017 I'd like to go to. Next one on my schedule is UFO Con, which is in March, but maybe if I can go to one before then, by all means. But anyway, enough about my plans. let's talk about some of the things you discussed during your little intro there. You mentioned twin flame a few times, but for those that don't understand, I think it may be a good idea to explain what exactly is a twin flame.
Okay, many people have different things. I'm just going to, and it is vast, although it's very simple. It's when you are looking and you're with someone else and you're one. What happens is the experience of the real twin flames is that you're looking at yourself in another being. You think the same, you automatically become telepathic. Sometimes twin flames don't even talk because they know already what the other person is feeling. I had my twin flame that I had in San Diego, I'll name him Mark. When I came back the second time, I was told we can't bring you your twin flame, but we can bring you the next closest thing, which was the exact duplicate. He looked exactly the same. He was around 23, looking 23, because Creator said most people want to be 23, between 23 and 28, because that's when their vitality's up. And what I noticed was in this energy, phones and computers are all used in a different manner. I've also seen that for myself, where technology can be used against others, which I'll just chuck in here very, very quickly because it is very important. Refrain would be the word from using phones and computers if it's not with a loving energy. That'll do that. But yeah, twin flames are like someone. Okay, so the twin flame, the closest thing that was brought to me, I could see him coming through walls. I could see his spirit coming down from above into his body, looking at me. And what that means is his name on one level is Ian, his name on another level is Michael, and a name on another level is Mark. If I worked with him telepathically, we could hear each other's thoughts. I was working with his spirit. The spirit is of the one that I love, of Mark. His body, his physical appearance, and his mission to be there with me and follow, because we're one, is that we'd show up at the same times, at the same places. It's a feeling you get when you meet someone. I even have, when I go to conferences, I told my queen, one of my queens, I know when a twin flame's in a room. And every time I go to a conference, I'm assured there's a twin flame there. The last one, the conference that we went to, Andrew, by the way, you'll always be welcome to any conferences, and we will do our best to get you in whether you have the money or not. We couldn't look at each other. Sometimes a twin flame can't even look at each other because they know the power within their eyes. When I was with my original, Mark, I can't lie, Mark, he would say, I love you, and my eyes would go googly, and I couldn't control them, and he called me googly eyes, and then no one has ever done that to me. And once that happened, it like reinforced a decoding in my peripheral vision. So since then, in a certain frequency, I can see around, in and through walls, things coming through walls if I'm in a high enough frequency with someone who's with me in their presence. So the conferences are very important because each conference on the mission, and twin flames know the mission, they will always be there, whether it's in one body or another, it doesn't matter. That's part of the illusion. But someone who's holding the frequency of a divine masculine will bring out the divine feminine. I know this, I understand this, I am part of that. So when I feel divine feminine coming out and Gaia coming through, I know that that one there is a twin flame. I can tell that one's a Pleiadian. I can tell that one's a Sirian. This one here is an organic being. They all have different things because universal intelligence mingles. So when you stand beside or sit beside or look at somebody and you feel with your heart, you can feel what level And I don't mean that in a level of better or worse. I mean what dimension that this person is now resonating at. So I feel and understand the trilogy more than anything. The mind programs don't make sense to me. Even talking sometimes is hard because I'd rather telepathic is more natural. So that when you feel it in your body expands, your heart opens, you're activated, and you look at each other and you have this intense love for each other. That does not mean you need to jump in bed. There may be one that yes, but that's not the case. The case is you want to just look into their eyes. Just to be in their presence makes you feel at peace. It's an unconditional source energy. So the power that twin flames hold. I remember when me and Mark were together, you can look back on this research, but San Diego had a blackout, and I was told, look what you and your twin flame have done. And I'm going, oh, what are you talking about? What's a twin flame? You know, like la 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 la. It's like, well, you just stay at home, okay? You've taken the power out of San Diego. I had no idea what was going on, of course, but I went. They hold a very high frequency, so when they're together, the electricity voltage or frequency that we use for our lights and certain things don't hold enough energy. They're lower than what our bodies resonate at. This is the answer why some people want to be off-grid, because they want to feel the frequency of the earth and Gaia rather than the frequency that's coming through the wall, which is 120 volts or 240 volts, depending on what country you're in. They're all they resonate lower than earth. However, when your heart is activated, this is where no one needs to fear anything. What actually happens to computers and phones is, just say you're having an argument with someone, but if your frequency raises, that all gets deleted, because fear and anger don't exist when there is love. So all of a sudden, your conversations or texts with someone will ultimately change instantly. It's like, oh, I've had enough. I'm sorry. Well, that was off. What were we talking about again? You know, this is how a heart works, because the past doesn't exist and it just wants to be present. It doesn't want to be talking about the past. For me, all of this is the past, Andrew. I came through the photon belt when I flew from what we call America, which is the Creator's dream, Creator's reality. The Creator wanted a world full of diversity where everyone was one, no matter where they came from. So you could say if Earth was in the middle, and then you had all these lines, which some people call ley lines as well, going everywhere else, but if you put America in the middle, that would be the heart of the Creator. It was the dream to create that. And you'll hear all the presidencies even say that, which reminds me, I was also shown, and I've also been in the Parliament, and I got told that, or I was shown that I was trying to be brought back to the Galactics to go back into the White House. And I say back into the White House because it was like at that moment I hadn't left, and I had been getting walk-ins and reptilian-looking people, but very, very loving, very kind. So, you know, some stories about things might have got a little messed up, but very telepathic. I would be at my house and I could hear this person saying, is she coming? Yes, she's coming. She's getting in the car now. You know, so we'd have a meeting. So these are all the things, but I remember I was trying the Galactics, Ashtar, there were 4 of them. Michael, I believe, is the protector, and a couple of others, but trying to lift me up to get me back into the White House, yet I was already in a White House at this time, a White House in New Zealand, shall I say. It was a house that's white. It was metaphoric. It was very metaphoric. So I've seen inside the buildings. I've been shown the spiral staircases, the balcony where the bedroom is, and all these sort of things. And it's like, huh? And it's like, and then I was working with Obama. So Obama, when I went through the photon bout once again, when I was still in San Diego with my twin, because I could see into all portals when you're with your twin. There is no deceit, there's nothing to hide. You see all, you're all seeing in all dimensions. So this is another wonderful gift. You can quantum jump very easily. I would see, I went to a house to move into a house and found out he was working for, I was directed there actually, couldn't be more obvious because his name was Mark too. He worked for the, what's it called, nuclear plant in San Diego. So I went walking around his house, very multi-dimensional, very, very much the same place that I was already living in. Realised, hang on, that room looks like that room at my other place that I'm actually moving out of, and that room looks like this, and la 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 la. But once I found out he was working for the nuclear plant, I went, well, that's unusual. So I went back to my house and I sat on my little corner of the balcony, and the next day I see all these presidential cars and black bikes and limousines all going down the road to the house. And I had a message from Ashtar that same day. It came up on the computer saying, your phone is going to ring in about 30 seconds. Pick it up and you know what to do. Well, it was a phone call from the military saying, Tracee, you want to speak to us. And I had to tell them that nuclear, well, Ashtar said, you will know what to say. And I did. Whoever, the person that was on the other side of the phone wasn't the commander, but I told him, you go to your commander and tell him nuclear weapons will not be tolerated. The war must stop now, and if not, we will divert that. It will never happen. So let it go. And as people see stories, you know, about nuclear things, how they get dismantled or disarmed and it doesn't actually go through and all these sort of things, it's because it was ordained that way. So when a twin flame is together, getting back to your question, it's all knowing, it's telepathic. Everything of the natural abilities on our frequency of multidimensionality are natural. Timelines are very natural. You can move time to what we call divine timing. So you think you're running late, but you actually turn up on perfect timing because everyone else is, because you're running late. Let's put it this way. If I'm running late to somewhere and I'm supposed to be somewhere at 3, so like today even, I was running a bit late, but then you turn around and say, oh, I'm going to be 10 minutes this way. And it's like divine timing. Everything muddles around to make everything fit in a perfect situation to make it happen. So this can all happen with twin flames. So they're very powerful, and for me, it's about the feeling. It's unconditional. It's the closest, and you do become God source because it's like a marriage made in heaven. So these two are meant to be together. The divine feminine and the divine masculines are always meant to be together. They work through spirit. However, our bodies are portals for that. So our portals are called bodies, or portals are being recoded. If not, well, they already are. Everybody was in 2011. It's just a matter of who went back into the mind process if nothing's changed or anything like that, which is back in the past. But in the future, or what we call the now, when you're present, all advanced technology is already available. You don't need to go out and buy this or that. It's available within you. It makes it happen. There is no mind logic to it because it doesn't exist in the mind matrix. It's a higher frequency. So all these things exist. So there's a lot of information, a lot of frequency changes, all for the greatness when twin flames are in the same room. I had a twin flame at the Palm Springs, and I knew he was because I see blue spheres as well. I see blue spheres. That tells me something. There's a twin flame. He's holding the frequency for. He's a divine masculine. Same thing, twin flame, divine masculine for me, because it's not about. It's a frequency. It's a love. So he took me outside. Well, we went outside because I says I've got to go and meet with him because he's just coming out, and I know exactly where he is. And he started drawing a diagram. And this was a very interesting diagram that I totally understood, and no one knows these things unless they're who I say and know they are. And he started doing some things, and I said, well, I said, well, let's just get rid of those. I won't go into what was doing, that's probably another conversation, but twin flames are all-knowing, so they know how to decode old programs and replace them with the higher frequencies and unlimited consciousness. Never mind the love of the heart.
Thank you. And I hear my echo again.
Not on this end. You sound beautiful, Andrew.
Okay. Thank you. I don't even hear my echo again. It's very annoying when that happens. But anyway, I see you like to use the word Gaia when you're talking about the soul of Mother Earth. I had a guest, I believe it was Lily Earthling, who said, I don't like to use the word Gaia because the word Gaia was originated by malevolent reptilian aliens. Okay, is there any truth to what she's saying, or do you think she's got her research wrong?
Absolutely. I do not want to cause everyone has their different programs running, but of course Gaia was never brought up by benevolent beings. Gaia is very benevolent. When Gaia's been pushed a little bit too much, she might come very assertive. However, it's not from a malevolent way. It's from a, oh my God, wake up and get rid of this program way. So, no, absolutely do not agree with that, personally.
Okay, and on another agree or disagree thing that you mentioned earlier, the idea that fear is an illusion. Now, this is a subject that's never going to get old, because whenever I think about this fear is an illusion thing, I often think of what Stephen Greer says about how all extraterrestrials are benevolent. And there are those, like in particular those who follow the work of the late Dolores Cannon, that that's a proper statement. Fear is an illusion. So therefore, by that logic, that would mean Dr. Stephen Greer is right when he says all ETs are benevolent because fear is an illusion. Of course, there's a whole slew of people that would say, well, that's a stupid and ridiculous way of looking at it. In this matrix of duality, you simply cannot say that fear is an illusion because it's ridiculous to look at it that way. Well, it's a point of view issue, but why are you on the fear is an illusion side of the point of view issue?
Because when I came through, I'll go back to it, there's a thing called the bridge, the fourth dimension. So when your galactic eyes or your heart is open, there is no deceit or deception. There's nothing, because you can see all dimensions. So fear is an illusion because you get to choose what you want to see. It's very scientific. Actually, if you wanted to put it into a scientific value, nothing exists unless you put your attention on it. So if you take your attention off fear and put it on what you do want to see, you will see what you want to see, what you have chosen. Fear is an illusion from my point of view because of the things I was shown through the portal. And I believe me, had no idea what was going on. So I saw a lot of, I won't say the S word, but I saw a lot of stuff I didn't like. And these are programs and beliefs that have been planted in the global consciousness like a template. So if one gets a certain height, they could, sort of be, how do I put this? When one reaches the level of what I call the ionosphere, which is an area around the surface of the outside of Earth, it's like all of a sudden everyone wants to know who you are. And because you're at that bridge, just as high can see is just as low, but once you get above it, it's fine. There's no low frequencies. And so what I was shown was two different dimensions. Getting back to your question, why sphere is an illusion. I would stand in a room. When you're in a portal of oneness, you stand in a room and you can pretty much see two outcomes playing at once. Okay, for example, I'm standing in a room and a dog, there's a little cute little doggy, and there's a I don't know, picture on the wall, and it looks like it's going to fall down on the dog and kill the dog or something. That would be the worst thing. But by noticing that, you can change that. And you go, well, move the dog. You can change the fears. You can actually control that, like as in a dream. I've seen things where fear is an illusion. It's usually not even your own fear, it's someone else's. It's a program. So you can remove those programs. I've seen fear be tricked into people. I could be having a conversation with someone and they're really uplifting them, and someone will come along and say, oh no, that's all crap, yeah, this is going to happen instead. That's a program. That is a subconscious program running right there. You cannot put it on the person. You have to what we call detach the person from the program, because they are not the program. It's the program running in them that they're allowing to come out of their mouths. So those are illusions to keep one from experiencing what their heart desires.
Thanks. We'll get back to the subject of the heart in a little bit, but since you mentioned the recent election, some might say that whenever you have a president election, that's just a marking point of how one can perceive the total collective consciousness of humanity in like a given nation, that their candidates are a reflection of the duality of the collective consciousness. And Trump being elected, I've heard a couple different things about him. Now, first of all, it goes without saying, a lot of activists and truthers who support Trump base their support around the idea that Donald Trump is not an insider. Well, some people like David Icke have said, I seriously doubt that Donald Trump is not an insider. I mean, even the average layman could think, how could someone of that wealth not have any connections to the New World Order? It seems so counterintuitive. And a couple things about Donald Trump's soul. I've heard on one radio program, on some guest on Late Night in the Midlands with Michael Vara, said Donald Trump actually has a young soul, meaning his soul has not been around and had a lot of experience. And I've also heard a guest on Alfred Weber's radio program say that Donald Trump, he is actually lower level Illuminati, and he has a reptilian soul. But does that necessarily mean, like, what percentage of his soul is the reptilian soul, and what percentage of that reptilian soul is malevolent and benevolent? There are a lot of questions there. So thinking about Trump and what his presidency has in store for the collective consciousness, what do you have to say about that? And also these bits and pieces I've said about his soul and the idea that he is or is not an insider, which nobody can agree on. Any comments?
Oh yeah, lots of comments. I usually bypass the presidency thing as much as I can, because I understand it is a bit of a distraction now since we opted out of that issue. But I'm going to try not to mention any names. I'm just going to say I've worked with someone who I cannot see no different to Donald Trump. When I went through the photon bout and I was getting messages from Obama, I was asked, what do you think of Donald Trump? And at that time I said, well, I actually think he's okay. And they said, okay. Well, 5 years later, here he is. But it's hard to put multidimensionality into one timeline, so I'll just say it as it is. I've worked with Donald Trump in another body. And yes, I will say, whomever mentioned the young soul, this is true. So there's a lot of growing up there. It's not meant to be malevolent. It's not meant to be manipulated and threatening and ego-based. However, part of my mission was part of my experiment to working with this multi-dimensional soul was to put someone who has a great hive light and a very big heart into a position of power and see if ego and money will end up driving it, and allowing that person allowing ego to take over the integrity. That was an experiment, and that's what we saw. So I sort of changed my mind when I saw that because I was shown that the programs and the things that I was dealing, okay, let's put it this way. I'll go to one conference, say Secret Space Program Conference, for example. All conferences are one. I said that earlier and I'll say it again. So it's connected to everything that is going on. So like me and my issues and things that I was dealing with behind the scenes and in front of people at the conference, was me revealing what was going on also with Donald Trump and Hillary. So I see no difference in what my experience is to those two while they're trying to go through elections. You know, the insults, fighting with each other and all this yucky, stupid stuff. When really all they need to do is be in alignment, work with each other. If one's great at that, allow them to be that. If you're great at that, allow them to be that. Work together. So it creates one. So you could say if Donald Trump and Hillary were divine feminine and divine masculine, well, what a mess, right? But this is part of the system. This is part of the system. The whole point of even looking at the election was for people to look with their heart, with their eyes open, so they could see how the programs run and how they can be manipulated. You say something bad about someone, it's really only manipulating themselves, making them, all this sort of stuff going on. Yes, the soul is young. It's like a little, what we call a little scallywag, or a little boy having a tantrum. Sometimes a spoiled little brat may be another word. And this is just part of the soul. Exactly. The Illuminati, or reptilian, as you say, well, as I've said, I've been face to face with a reptilian that asked, who gave me authority over some leadership in Gandhi. Is Gandhi a leader in Liberia, or Gandhi, the old leader that died? Gandhi. It was back in 2011, and they asked me if I wanted to be a soft Polaris or a super Polaris, and I had no idea what that meant at the time. So, with your question, I have a person I call a validator, a physical person who's multidimensional, and I call him my validator. And prior to working with this certain soul that you're talking about, or this program, or this being, he told me that in another lifetime, this person became powerful. The forces were given into the wrong hands, and that person became very manipulative and ego. And I keep getting shown a picture of this person eating lots and lots of food and having lots and lots and lots of luxuries, while others were hungry and starving. And it was them that got them there in the first place. And that sort of sounds a little bit like, the rest of the globe. One man can get very rich through wealthy, shall I say, through others, and leave them on the side of the road because their ego goes over and say, I did it all. So this is a power trip. So this was a past life, and how I see it as an incarnation from soul to soul, is that person's mission is to give back what they didn't give back in their last past. And if they don't give it back, it will be taken away from them again until they learn that greed isn't part of the system that we work from. So you learn to be humble, and you learn to appreciate others working and putting the efforts in, because in the end, it's about a feeling. So yes, I was told from the validator that if you want to use the word Illuminati or Cabal, that was there in this past life.
Thank you. People can make of that whatever they will.
Yeah,
And,
I know, it's a bit for us,
yes.
but
And, okay, getting back to another thing you said, this was interesting. You said you see trees as cells and something else as the blood or whatever. Well, this idea that trees could be seen as cells and other things could be seen as some other part of the body, is it kind of set in stone that this is how it is, or is it possible that someone else may see the trees as something other than cells? Because you would think that if fractal geometry and math is true, then you really can't say, well, maybe from your point of view, trees are that or trees are that. No, it's got to be something, because everything is a representation of the greater whole. So there's got to be some definitive answer to the question of what do trees represent. It can't be more than one part of the body. Well, maybe I'm wrong. And what's the truth about this subject? About would people see differently, like trees and other parts of the world, as different things representing different parts of the body?
okay. The nervous system and cells is where I'm going with trees. Okay, if we could imagine that oxygen, trees produce oxygen, we'll go this route. So it's actually our cells our cells need oxygen. They produce oxygen. It's the same inside-outside theory. So the roots of a tree, if you look at the roots of a tree and then look at a cell, they have this same sort of thing going on. But this is what I'm saying. When you relate earth to your body, you can feel it all. You understand that everything must be treated sacredly. So yes, the trees, for a large amount of us, are like, this is an oxygen. This is part of my cells. These are part of my cells that produce oxygen, that produce it within me. And that metaphor for that are these trees. And these trees are all connected to the heart. They're connected to earth. And that's just the surface of it. Then it goes within the heart, inside the earth, where it creates roots, where everything's connected. So every tree in their roots are the same. They intermingle, and they, like arteries, like cells in the brain, they all intermingle. They all have their little parts. So yes, I have to go with the trees are like cells, my cells, and like a nervous system. So when, for instance, where I was living in Mount Shasta, there was a tree outside my window, and my council of 7, which I call them my council of 7, my kitty family, I noticed that every time someone cut a tree, we'd like go in energy, and we'd all like going, my cats would be running around and I'd be running around, and we didn't even know there's someone chopping a tree over the road. But we had this tree outside our window, and when I first moved in, I was having a few issues about this tree, and then I was told, I went to Ace Hardware and I bought a gate, a little fence to put around a tree so my cats wouldn't run on the road, thinking that was why I was doing it, of course, to protect the kitties. I put the gate up and I went and sat in my bed, and all I heard was, now I feel protected. And I'm going, huh? I was protecting the tree. So anyway, this tree became a very bonded, we ended up really, really loving this tree outside the house, but they cut it down when I was in Tucson. And of course we felt that, and I texted my friend and I said, make sure that the doors and the windows are closed and the curtains are pulled when they cut that tree, because the cats are going to go crazy. Which they did. But we get lifted, so we don't feel, so so that's why trees and all those sort of things don't feel any pain, so to say. The animals and everyone works together, so they lift the energy up. So there's, it's like an etheric body by now. In an etheric body, you don't feel being surgeried or worked on or anything like that, because it's energetics. It's working on the energetics. It's not working on the physical. So the elements of the animal kingdom and the mineral kingdoms and all those are sort of along that line. But yes, it is, because what happens is I start getting all shaky, and these are my nervous and my cells, and the cats go running around, and it's not until we can ground again that everything's okay. It doesn't mean it's not sad, but it's the way it is. Regardless of my point of view, I'm not saying that no one else's point of view or how they feel that situation, but I'm sure Indigenous people can understand what I'm saying, because they work so close to the earth, and I'd probably be making a bit of sense to them, as well as yourself and many others that probably will listen. That is how I see it. And the same with my heart. When my heart, what some people may call a heart attack, or their heart is shuddering or pulsating or anything like that, that tells me this is going on. And when I mean this, it's like looking at what do you call those earthquake programs that you see on computer, tectonic reports, and you see all these things going. That's how it feels in my heart. So I know there's earthquakes going on. I can tell whether they're tremors or they're an extra big unusual one, depending on the energy and how my heart is shuddering. I can't pinpoint where it is, except I do know that the ones that I had a couple months ago, which were really in my heart, and I said to my friend, you have to find out now where the earthquakes are happening, because I've been having them for 3 days. And he looked, and he says, actually, there's a whole lot of them happening in San Diego, in the sea salt ocean. I said, that's it. So once I knew where they were coming from, they dissipated, and I haven't had them since. So I have to go with what I was shown and what I was going through the photon belt, the galactic alignment, planetary alignment. Because when the planetary alignments line up, everything lines up. So there is no mistake in associating anything when it comes to multidimensionality. It all relates. There might be different versions, but they all relate in the end.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd like to get into the subject of the heart now, because you talked about how it's important to go with the heart, but also heard you mention earlier, see with your eyes. Well, one would say, why do you have to see with your eye? And in this case, I mean the third eye, when you could just go with the heart. And people, whenever I discuss this subject, I can't help but bring up the controversy that George Kavaslis brings up about this, because he always says, go with the heart, go with the heart. I just dissolve all the other chakras and go with the heart. And my attitude towards that is, hey, if you can just go with the heart and have fun all the time, well, more power to you. But if you're not using the other parts, the other chakras, you're kind of like missing out on all the fun, because you're not putting variety in your life. So I got a problem with always go with the heart, because of the lack of the spice of life that is variety. So, but I mean, one would, of course, is going to try to make the argument, if going with the heart is the best way, then those who don't go with the heart all the time are fools. So, and it's obviously an agree to disagree kind of thing. So, how do you see this?
Oh, that's so funny. I totally agree with what you were saying with the man that said go with your heart. What we mean by this, and I also agree with you too, because if people choose to have variety as well, then, you know, that's fine. When you're in the heart, when you're feeling from your heart, you see your heart has eyes. It's called the eye, the window to the soul, your eyes. And when you're looking, there's a, you know, like when you watch a movie and they use different filters to make you see different ways of this movie, it's sort of the same. So if you're looking from your mind, your two physical eyes with your mind, you're just seeing things that are in front of you. However, if you look from the eyes of your heart or your window to your soul, then you see more than just fifth dimension. You see more. You see the blue orbs. You see these little things. You can see spirits coming through the wall. That's why, you know, a lot of mediums are so good, because they know how this works. And it's natural to them to stay in that frequency. It becomes a natural ability. They've mastered it. They live it every day. You know, they sit in their room talking to nobody from us, but for them, they see somebody. It's because they're activated. Their inner eyesight is working. Doesn't mean always that they're crazy unless they're yelling and screaming. Then you have an issue, because anything that's not of love is a program. And they need to be lifted out of that, transmuted out of that. So yeah, the heart, when you feel and your heart is activated, your heart and your whole being is in what we call 0 point. And that is meaning being present. So when that happens, when you're in heart consciousness, there is no time. There's no past, there's no future, there's now, right now. And when you're in the now and you're in the heart, you have the most, you felt it, I know, blissful feeling of existence. And that is your natural state of being. Now, why would anyone want to take anything less than that? Is a question of a third dimensional way of a mind thinking, maybe. But yes, variety does count too, and we still have to raise and come down while we're still in what we call, what appears to be a physical body. So we have different moments. If we sat there and meditated for ever and ever and ever and ever and ever, you know, you'd see people in bliss. But you know, the variety is just love, which includes joy, happiness, creativity, all those sort of things. The other things don't exist in the heart, so there's nothing being lost or gained. You still have variety. However, you can see more than just the physical objects within front of you. You see lucid, more or less dense things. So you begin to see multi-dimensionality, and you feel it, because multi-dimensionality is based on energetics, a higher frequency, which is love. So that's what the heart. That's what the heart is. That's how it works, and that's how, when you allow that frequency of your higher self, your higher being, your galactic being, your God self, in and around to encase your body or portal, then you're not thinking about anything. You're being, you're feeling. So anything you do is going to be joyful, and anything you do is going to be positive, and it's going to be exciting, without the mind getting in its way, self-sabotaging thoughts or doubts, or what if this happens, or what if that happens. There is none of that, because the heart doesn't think, the heart feels. So when it's feeling love, the universe has to provide. It is universal law. You give out love, you feel love, you're being love, you shall experience love. And I mean love and all the things under it, subcategory of it: joy, inspiration, creativity, synchronicity, telepathy, all your natural abilities, everything, you know. So I understand definitely what that man is saying. He knows what he's saying too.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to switch gears, talk about the specific extraterrestrial group that you. I'm sorry if you find the word extraterrestrial inappropriate. I mean, some might be.
Higher dimensional, please.
Yeah, whatever. Yes, the Pleiadians. Now, a little controversy about the Pleiadians, where they come from, and some might see that and think, okay, is this the same Pleiadians that Billy Meyer talks about? And if it is, then okay, where do they really come from? The Pleiades star cluster, or do they actually come from a star system that's in that area of the sky, but not actually one of the Pleiades stars? Because there's also the Pleiadians are also referred to as the Pleiadian. And I'm not exactly sure where that name came from, other than it was just a random name change. I don't know how familiar you are with Billy Meyer's work, but is this the same Pleiadian group that Billy Meyer has contact with? And if it is or if it isn't, where exactly do they come from? Which star system?
Yeah, it would be the Pleiades system we're talking about, because that. Okay, so when the separation created with the dimensional shift, things. How do you put it? It's the system. So within the Pleiades system, you have what you said, the Pleiadian. Yeah, I don't know where that word came from, but it is there. And then also connected to that, you have the Syrians, because the Syrian and Pleiadians are what you call alibis. Maybe that's not, I don't know if that's the correct word. I want to put this, the divine feminine and divine masculine, one was Pleiadian and one was Syrian, so this created a merge between them. Okay, but your question is, Pleiadians, where do they come from, or the Pleiades system? I have to say the star system.
The actual system, where like the star Maya and Tegeta, I don't know all the names of the stars in that 7-star cluster, but well, there's 2 of them. But that's interesting. You said this thing about Sirius and the Pleiades being like a representation of masculine and feminine. That's interesting, because it has been said that this solar system that we are in is actually in an orbit involving the Pleiades and the Sirius star system. And obviously gravity would not be the only force that's influencing that, which kind of changes the way we look at how mainstream science is describing how the stars move and things in space work. But anyway, the point is, if Sirius and the Pleiades are masculine and feminine, then that makes you wonder, okay, then what is our system, our solar system, if we are involved in the same galactic orbit as they are?
Yeah, interesting question. Not totally sure if I understand it, but what you're saying is, I have to say it from my point, and from there that will create a something that may trigger for the answer to the question. My experience through the photon bound, at this time, of course, I didn't know this information. I was just totally like, what is going on? But this is cool. We like doing all sorts of stuff, and this is weird, and I'm loving it. Afterwards, I found out through the dream astral travels and some of the work I was doing to say my name was Myra, because then I would be protected. And Myra is a Pleiadian. And I related that, well, if that's that, then who's Mark? And then I realized, well, he's Syrian, because I was asked, no, how do I put it? Ashta came and worked through me, and I was standing in front of Mark one day. I know this is a little, I'll say it slow. You know, I was now a channel, and Ashta came through me and said to Mark, who was standing in front of me, do you choose to, no, the question was, I'm sorry, choose A or B, is what I said to Mark. He said, what? I said, pick one, A or B. He goes, oh, B. And my answer to that was, that's fine. Then you're picking the old and familiar. Then I studied up on that, and then I found out there was a Sirius A and Sirius B star system. They were supposed to merge, had merged and then become like this. So I have no doubt in how I got that information about that. And that was through the twin flame union, through the photon belt. That doesn't mean that everyone's connected. But this is what I mean. I feel the difference between different star systems and the people. It took me a while to understand and connect with the Arcturians. The energy, should I say. The energy of them. The organics, there's this organic thing going on that I know very, very well. I'm not too sure of the name, but and the blues that are just seem to have come out, which was Corey's sort of mission. He was, I'll go back to my Council 7 cats, or 4 of them were new kittens that were just born under the pyramids, and I named one Blue. I was told. I'm looking at him going, well, what am I supposed to call you? And I hear this thing, Blue. It's like, okay, Blue. The next thing, Corey God's getting involved in the blue spheres. It's all coming up in the Blue Alliance and everything. So, my cats, my animal family are very important to me, and they're not just kittens to me. So, so the blues, I know the blues, and I see blue orbs when I'm with twins. With that certain frequency, like I said earlier, I can see blue specks, and to me these blue specks are creations. The very high blue orbit vortal creations that are instant. So it's all very, very positive and very, very uplifting and high energy. So it doesn't mean that all the others aren't connected, because they are. If you aligned all the star systems in the world, they all have lines connected to them. They all have, and there's all sorts of things. But even that's part of the looking outside of yourself. So it's impossible. There is nothing that is not connected. So you might see this star system and this star system over here, but you can't see the lines connecting it. Well, that's like saying that I see the sky as my brain. My mind. Okay, so the sky above. So all these little stars that flicker at night are like little brain cells. They're still here, they're still going, they're all like this. I can feel when there's an argument going on with a highly a battle between the female and male. My left and my right hemisphere, right and left hemisphere of my brain, it'll either be one side or the other, and one side will tell me, okay, this is okay, and this is coming from here, and this is actually a manifestation, and the other one's going, oh, something's going out because this is hurting and there's a battle going on. So I can feel what's going on in the airways. So inside outside theory, if my head was something, it would be the sky. So I feel those sort of things going on as well. So when there's alignments and planetary things going on, I have a planetary consciousness, you see. So when those things are going on, I could be sitting in my room, and if someone's there, I'll go, oh, something's going on right now. It's not nice. I said, because it's happening in this side of my hemisphere, which is my right hemisphere, and this left side's doing this weird stuff. But it's normally one at a time, not at both at a time. And one will be painful, and one will be like this. So then I know that's of the light. But if it's one that's feeling like, someone's doing this, there's a battle going on, there's arguments going on, there's something going on that's not, it's coming from the right or the right side of the brain, or left side of the brain, depending on what's going on. I don't know if that's making sense. It's a very vast question.
Well, I think you're doing a good job, and I want to elaborate a little bit on this because, well, thinking from what the metaphysics folks and the astrologers too would say, one would think, okay, our solar system would have to be male energy dominant, even though Mother Earth is a feminine energy dominant planet, our solar system would have to be male energy dominant because our sun is male energy based. And getting back to George Kavasilis, he pointed out that yeah, our solar system is in fact a binary system, at least binary, and the other star, and this is not me talking, this is Alex Collier talking from a presentation he did in the early 90s about how the second sun is sort of like a red dwarf sized star. It's behind the sun that we normally see, and it orbits the Earth. I mean, excuse me, it orbits the sun at the same velocity as Earth does, so that's why we can't see it. And George Kavasilis said that second sun is a how should I say this? A balancing of the male energies, not male energy, male energies. And he explained like Enki and Enlil and Cain and Abel. These stories that we hear of are also balancing of the male energies. And maybe this might help answer the question I asked you before about, okay, if Sirius and the Pleiades are masculine, feminine, whichever one is whatever, then what is our solar system? Well, could it perhaps be that our solar system is the balancing of the male energy with either Sirius or the Pleiades, whichever one's masculine, and maybe there's another star system we're leaving out that's the... Is there a balance of the female energy in the same way that there's a balance of the male energy? That's a question I've never actually discussed on my show before, so maybe you could help us make sense of this, because I'm a little lost myself.
Actually, you just cleared up a lot for me. Who was the person that said that the two suns were balancing?
Well, okay, it was Alex Collier that I learned about the second sun being behind the one we see, and George Kavasilis said that second sun is a balance of the male energy, and he alleges it orbits the sun at the same speed that Earth orbits the sun in such a way that we can't see it. It's always going to be behind the sun, directly behind it, relative to the Earth, so we can't see. I think Alex Collier said people on Mars might be able to see it, but not Earth. So, well, that's the information, and so
I got it.
Okay, so
George Colossal and Alex Collier. That's very interesting, because I do wonder how these people get their information. They must get it through telepathic, because there is truth to that, yes, very much so. I also want to speculate, when someone says the two suns, we have to change this perspective here a little. Who said it was to do with the sun and the moon? It could be two sons of God. It could be two sons of the masculine. So that's why I said, who said that? Alex and George show they picked up on that, and they've been able to bring that out. This is true. This has been going on to balance out, because it was a balancing act for the masculine, yes, because one would be, otherwise we'd have this, well, it would actually be good if, how do you put that? It's like one being split into two, you know how I was talking earlier, you know, the divine feminine and divine masculine. Well, in this case, we may have masculine up here that splits into two. So one could be divine and the other could be ego, because we are dealing a lot of the time in the mind with ego programming. So there could be a balancing act going on there. I totally get what they're saying. How to put it into words is another story. I see visions, I see the pictures, and I see my experience that I've lived in my life. I lost my one of my cats, Baba B, got run over, and the moment that we were very telepathic, the moment he got run over, my two other boys, what I call my sons, my children, my two other boy kitties sat where I sat and buried Baba B the previous day. I had sat there and cried for like 3 hours, and they went and found that spot, and they sat there. Both of these cats just sat there and stared at each other and didn't move, and I didn't move them or anything. I just knew what they were doing. I could virtually see them doing this, you know. between their eyes. They didn't move for about 3 hours. They just sat where I'd buried Baba B. And so that story that you tell me about this two sons and balancing act out makes total sense to me, because these two cats have balanced each other out, but they've now become both divine, instead of one being a little rat bag program and not listening and not being in alignment with the rest of the family, the rest of the other cats. He has now become almost like the figure, the father figure, the one that'll stand there and watch and make sure everybody's good, and he's like a protector. So these balancing things work out. So what I see now is one as a protector. It never harms anybody, never touches, never shows any form of fear at all. It's just always like, and the other one likes to play and have fun and cuddle and all that sort of stuff. So they're all positive from these two suns. So you can relate that to two suns in the sky too. They're both been uplifted. They've both balanced and brought up. So they're almost like this one. They're almost like one, but they're still seen as two. But they're both holding the qualities and the frequencies of a higher frequency now, in a nice divine balance. As for the feminine, I can only speak for myself. When I am working with the divine feminine, like my queens, I become the king. I know that doesn't make sense, but it's true. I asked them, I says, now you listen here, you two. I said, if you were given the choice, would you be the queen or the king? And they said, oh, I'd be the queen. I says, well, you know, that makes me then, don't you? And that's how it is. So when I'm with my queens, I have two of them. One's in San Francisco and one's in Oregon at the moment. I now become the androgynous, but I become the role of the king in a way. But how I say it is more like I'm the God, I'm the father, I'm the God, I'm the God horse, and you're the Gaia, or I'm the king and you're the queen, or I'm the divine masculine and you're the divine feminine. So that balances us out. So it doesn't matter what body you're in, because the portal, you've got to remember you're not your body. Your consciousness, your body is a vessel for your multidimensionality. And when you see it from that point, you understand that when you shift, sometimes you feel masculine and sometimes you feel feminine. And if you don't let both of those come in an uplifting manner, I'm not talking ego, there's nothing, it's out the door. I'm talking in a divine way, then you become whole, you become one. So to see things as separate or outside of myself sometimes is hard to explain in a third dimensional manner. However, what Alex and George have said is very, very on track, on path, yes.
Thank you. I thought they were telling the truth all along. I seriously doubt they could make something like that up.
No,
I'm sure there would be context, and their heart soul essences were speaking truth to them in that regard.
So you were testing me then, huh?
Yes, one might say that. But okay, now I hate to talk about myself on my radio show, which I use to get information out, but I absolutely
I love you.
Love you too. And I need to ask though, what exactly you meant when you told me at Tolek's conference that I had found my divine feminine, because I thought I had already found it on Independence Day weekend 2015 when Elizabeth Diamond Mulligan invited me and some other people were there down to like this vortex center in the Atlanta suburbs where this lady named Cynthia was. It was a nature lovers, metaphysics lovers paradise, that place I went to on Independence Day weekend, and one of Cynthia's friends told me that, well, there was like a hodgepodge different women all around me, and I was one of only 3 guys there, I believe, And she told me, this is a sign you found your divine feminine, and then you tell me the same thing uh, a year later. It's funny, though, there's a hot spot between those times where I was at odds with my mother because I'm a sun gazer. She's an ophthalmologist. Ophthalmologists and sun gazing don't mix. She was really like losing touch with reality and suffering physically and mentally because of what I was doing. And I went through so much trouble trying to heal her spiritually and all that. She recovered. I don't know how much of it was due to what I was doing from a spiritual standpoint, but I realized from that my mother meant more to me than anyone or anything in the whole world. And seeing how much I suffered after seeing her suffer because of me sun gazing, it just wasn't right. And then, like, that was, I think, like around a midway point between some lady in Atlanta telling me I found my divine feminine and you telling me the same thing in October, a couple months ago in Arizona. Okay, so now that I've babbled long enough about this, what exactly did you mean when you say I found my divine feminine, and how do you know that? What evidence do you have to confirm that? And what can other people do to find their divine feminine?
Well, first of all, that was a beautiful sharing. Thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome.
I really felt your sincerity in that. It was lovely. After the Secret Space program, I ordained that I opt out. And I also ordained that the next conferences would be totally in mission with what everyone's supposed to be doing. So whether there was 5 people there or 150 people there, they would know why they're there. And that would be only for divine and Gaia, and to get into alignment with the mission. And this is, it's going to be fun, but we're not mucking around either. So everyone that shows up, I know, is on track. How I know about you is because that's how I work. I know what to say when I'm in the heart. When you came to Secret Space program, had a little bit of a test before I'd let you up to the gate, remember?
Yes, I do remember that. My phone disappeared. I still haven't found it. I'm beginning to think some entity made it disappear because I went through so much trouble not to try to make sure I didn't lose it, and then it disappeared. So I don't know what paradox it's in, but I'm sure it's in some other paradox, and whatever the trouble I had to go through because of that was meant to happen for some reason.
No, you did amazing. You know, you left the property and you came back a couple of hours later and says, oh, you know, you said something to me. I don't know if we should say it online, but you says, oh, I guess I had to do this. And I went, well done, up you go. Okay, so you had just gone through something really huge, and I was just still am so proud of you. When I saw you, because I'd already made the call to the people that had to be at the next conference here, because I know who I am, and I know that those people will get that message. So whoever goes there, I know there's no ego, there's going to be no battles going on, there's going to be nothing but love, mission, alignment, and connection. So when I saw you, I was so proud of you for what you've accomplished and what you're doing. I knew instantly, because the call was for the divines, for the ones who are doing the mission, for the ones that have let go of all the old stories now and are in alignment with what we are doing here. So whoever shows up has made that decision to let go of ego or the programs or old belief systems that now no longer exist. They're ready to move forward into the higher frequencies and see actually how it works and how take that information into their portals and send that information out. I had a message of, so that's how I know about you. I'm very telepathic. Because I see everybody outside of myself as a part of me that's inside, like I said, all I have to do is put the names to the people I already know because they're me, a part of me. So when that associates and your heart opens, like I say, you're all knowing. You just know because you're feeling the answers. You're not thinking them, you feel them. you don't even think what to say, you know what to say. This is where this person is, and because I'm conscious of what I'm doing and I know what I'm doing, then that puts, there's no doubt in the heart. There's no questions in the heart, which was very interesting at the last conference, because when the speakers panel said, are there any questions, no one had any hands up. It was like, well, that's not working. So that's how I know. And I'm glad, and what that means is that for you to recognize my messages to you means you're way ready. You know what you're doing. Yes, you do radio shows, and yes, you do this and that, and yes, you do this, but it's for the primary. Your heart and mind are with the primary. And that's what you're doing. So everyone there had to hold a certain frequency to be at this conference. And they all probably had to make some harsh decisions too before they got there. But they knew why. It's not all, we didn't say it was always going to be easy, but that's why that conference was so powerful, as you saw and you felt. I had a lot of things I knew I had to do there, and I wasn't mucking around. Yes, most of the time I stand in the background, but there's a reason for that. And also I went up on stage, and I also spoke to my associate, or lady I call my queen, the night before. And I told her, when you see me on stage, you're going to see me doing some unusual body things. I said, this is that, this is this, this is that, because I've been training, I've been showing her who I am. So this is this, and this is this. And when you see me do this, you'll notice that one of those speakers will stop talking. When you see me do that, if they start talking about something, if they start talking about Gaia being wounded, I'm going to start crying. Because that's the truth. So sometimes if I have tears coming, I call it my Mother Mary tears. I'm not actually crying, I could be here, but all these tears start coming out of my eyes. The statue of Mother Mary? I have that going on as well. But I just know, Andrew. I just know. And it's from the heart, and it's not coming from my ego, and it's not always easy for, I say us, because I know I'm not alone, to talk about ourselves. It's actually a lot easier to listen to someone else and go, I know what that is, because it's natural for us to be of service, not to talk about ourselves. So a lot of the time when people, like myself, in the first time I went on, the speakers panel, it was like my first time, and it's like, well, I'm used to just telepathically doing this and sending the transmissions and receiving, so now I've got to move my mouth. It's like, ooh. But I didn't think about it. I just went, I know what's up here. I know who's on stage. They know why they're here. I'm confident. I know there's a good team up here. There's a fantastic team up here. So you know what to say, because you're feeling where that person is. And for you to even be at that conference and to go out of your way to get there told me you got the message. Telepathically.
I definitely did get the message, and by all means, I'll try to get to as many conferences as I can in the future. But we only got about 7 minutes left, so I want to end on one more subject here. Since you receive information, you're getting information and codings from the higher realms on your site, it says, I have been interested, like, where people get inspirations for ideas, and as someone who gets information from higher realms, maybe you can define realms too when you get into, well, but I'll let you talk too, because there's some debate as to what's a realm, what's a dimension, and all that. But anyway, the point is, I remember listening to an interview that Tanath, the emissary contactee for the Silver Legion group, she on her website has like a description of what the universe is like, many different layers, and realms is one of the layers. And I don't know if your take of realms is the same as what her take of realms would be, but I remember her pointing out that many stories, fictional stories that people had that created and wrote about, were actually real things that happened in other dimensions, realms. I don't remember the exact word she used, but the example she gave was Little Red Riding Hood. Of all the stories, she said the story of Little Red Riding Hood with the wolf eating the girl in red and the huntsman cutting open the wolf and all that and everything else that goes with that story actually happened in some other dimension or realm, and whoever it was who wrote that story as fiction, their idea for that story must have come from that dimension or realm. But what I'm interested in knowing is what's the science behind how the information, in this case, travels from the dimension or realm for a fictional story to someone in this reality to write a story about it. And I'm guessing you're one of the best people to ask this since you receive information and codings from higher realms. Any thoughts?
First of all, higher realms or higher dimensions, it's just a word. It's a word that means a very similar or the same thing. So, yes, imagination, that's what creates it. It's called creativity or imagination. Imagination is the key. You may have heard that for many years. Most people who are in sports teams or create movies will imagine creating it before they even start manifesting it, because they know that's the law, that's how it works. I do imagination every day. I mean, even just to, find something, I imagine where it is first, and then I go, oh yeah, that's right, it's there. That's the last time I saw it. So I don't have to stand around trying to hunt for something for 10 minutes because I'm thinking with the head. I imagine, where did I have it last? Where did I last see it? I imagine it. So imagination is a realm, yes. I think some people call the fairy kingdom or fairy dimension, but they don't usually say dimension, they say the fairy realm. That's correct, what you just said. It's pretty much when someone is getting we'll take the Little Red Riding Hood story. So that became someone got a holographic implant, a message to create that, because it would be a global story and everyone would know about it in that message. However, some of us understand now that some of those programs or holograms or anything like that now no longer serve us, because just like movies today, I can't watch movies that have programming in them that are a low frequency. I instantly feel the manipulations within the movies. I was really excited about seeing a movie a few weeks ago, actually, and I saw the first 2 minutes and said, turn it off immediately. And I don't mean it from the ego. It's like, do you know what that movie just tried to create? Yeah. So it can be rather tricky. But stories and things like that are usually for a reason. Little Red Riding Hood, I mean, everyone knows about it. It was an imagination. It was a story. It was telepathic messages. It was an insight. It was there's something within that person that created that needed to make that manifest. However, sometimes I sort of look at those things and I go, well, not all wolves are bad, so maybe that was an implant to make wolves look bad, whereas wolves can be very, very lovely. So it's not always the case. So those sort of things, when it comes to media and movies and pictures and stories and books that aren't of ascension or higher consciousness, they're all parts of the program, of the matrix, of what we call this reality. So always be aware of those, That's why I only choose to watch animal funny movies and love stories.
Well, whatever floats your boat in that regard. I don't have that problem when it comes to I don't watch a lot of movies at all.
No, I don't either.
But I certainly wouldn't suffer the same way you do with turn it off, it's bad for you. I mean, I try to look out for the subliminal programming. That's just for the hell of it, just for the fun of it. I can look at that stuff and point it out. It's not going to brainwash me because I know what it's there and I know what it's meant to do. So
yeah, it doesn't brainwash me. It's I feel it.
So if there's a subliminal message, exactly what you're saying, if there's a subliminal message in a program that you're watching, Andrew, I feel it. So if it's a movie made of, someone getting ready to, I mean, I don't want to bring this too much up, but just quickly, the other day I had a terror attack going on with me. I don't watch the news. I don't watch TV. I don't have TV. The only movies I watch is, I think I've watched 2 in a year, and they're usually animated movies, funny movies, with animals in it. So I usually say to my friend, I'm not sure what this feeling is. It's terror. I felt it once before, and this is a terror. Something's going on. Someone's trying to create a terror attack right now. So you need to get online and look that up. See if there's some false flags happening. See if there's this happening, because I'm feeling it. So that means it's really direct. And then I also got the ones with the earthquakes in Christchurch in New Zealand. I was actually at the conference with you when that was happening. Because I got a text message, and I was having heart palpitations, and I told my queen, I don't know what's going on, my queen. She goes, what? I says, my heart is going crazy. I says, that's earthquakes. There's earthquakes, and that shouldn't be happening. We're here. And she goes, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. I've been putting up with heart palpitations all morning. I says, oh, okay, well, something's going on. We'll find out pretty soon. And a few hours later, I got a text message from my friend in Mount Shasta saying, oh, have you heard about the earthquakes that are happening in Christchurch in New Zealand again? And I went, that's it. So I told my queen. So I had them for 2 days. And on the 3rd day, I text my friend and I says, I think the earthquakes have stopped now. I says, my heart's not juddering. It's fine now. So that's all good. But, so I feel the movies. Is where I'm going. I feel the movies. So there was a cute little movie I wanted to watch, and I couldn't watch it, not because of this. It's because of what it does etherically. So I'm talking etheric, not in the mind, etheric and global and planetary. So for me, it's like if I put myself in front of a movie with those emotions and those feelings, and guess what? Everyone's going to feel that. And I won't allow that for everyone to feel that. It's that simple, because energy is what creates an outcome in the 3rd dimension. And it takes a certain energy to make something happen. If every energy that was used on our technologies and phones was love, then everyone would be having a joyful, happy life. But that's not the case, because lower frequencies and ELFs and people allowing that to happen through programming creates other things, because you can't create negative circumstances in a positive energy. It's impossible. So the only thing everyone needs to do is be positive, no matter what story or whatever they're doing. Like I was told when I came through the photon about this relates to a conspiracist person. Well, yes, we know you're a conspiracist, but how about making the shift? And all I heard was, what? And they said, well, you've been conspiring, making conspiracist stories, but we need you to conspire to inspire. We need you to shift it into a positive conspiracy now. I think that relates to a lot of conspiracists, and they need to really start focusing on that, because what a person who has power, or a person that is being listened to from a lot of people, should never bring in fear. And if they are, they're doing it for an egotistical reason. And I know that's straight to the point, but it's the truth. If they're going to plant fear into someone just to make a buck, then they're not in alignment.
So I'm going to take it you find Alex Jones appalling. Okay.
I'm not going to say appalling at all. But that might have been who the message was for. Because Alex I have a really lovely feeling about Alex. But however, that may have been who the message is for, because that's funny that you brought his name up, because I was just sitting there going, well, who was that message for though, when I came through the photon belt, because I didn't figure it out. So it needs to be someone who has a lot of followers and who's very well known. So that makes sense. Alex Collier is very well known too. So I'm wondering if that is the message for him. But that message comes from the galactics in higher dimensions. And if it is for him, then that would be my message. And it's not coming from myself or what I've been called Tracee. It's coming from what I was told and seen coming back through the photon belt. So it's coming from a high source. And because someone with the power to influence someone with fear can also influence them with the truth, with a higher thing. So a lot of people put into positions of power, or positions of being well known for that. So when they make the shift, it's going to inspire people, not keep them thinking, oh, the world's coming to the end, because it ain't. You know, it's not that at all. That's just part of the program. These are dimension shifts, yes, and they happen every day. But unless you're conscious of them, you might not know, because they can be subtle too. So it could be Alex Collier, because as I was talking, I was asking, but who was that message ever for? I've never got a name and I did not meet the person. If I meet the person face to face, I know. But there's a lot of conspiracists. They're all connected, yes, we're all one. But like I said, when I came to Mount Shasta, I understood I was meant to put the faces to the people I already knew. So for each person I meet, yes, direct contact, connection, plugged in. But if I haven't met the net, then the internet does it. And Alex Collier was one of the people I used to listen to while I was going through the photon, when I was in my quarantine process. So that makes total sense to me.
Yeah, I just brought that thing Alex shows appalling because I just had a YouTube comment or last night saying, I would have loved to listen to the show, but I turned it off after the intro, and the intro was me doing the news courtesy of Alex Jones and InfoWars, and my response to the guy's comment was, aw, you find Alex Jones appalling. How's that? Okay, so I just thought I'd end the show on that comical note. So yeah, we went 7 minutes over, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Glad you got those last few words in, because maybe it was a message for someone. Nice to see you laughing on the camera. I'm glad you got a chuckle out of that. Alex Jones, Alex Collier, if you guys are listening, maybe this message is for you. But anyway, Tracee.
I love them. I love everybody.
Loved having you on too. And I hope to see you at future conferences. By all means, you got my Facebook. You're a friend of mine on Facebook, so you don't have to email me. You could probably just send me links through that. And hopefully, maybe I can go to some conference before the UFO con. I thought I was going to go on a conference hiatus for the whole winter, but hey, nobody says I have to do that. If I can find a way to go there and use the law of attraction to get myself there, I'll do it. I'll find a way to do it.
Just quickly, when's the UFO one and where is it?
The UFO con is March weekend of March 24th, 25th. I don't know if that's the exact dates of the weekend, but it's like late March. It's in San Jose, California. UFO Con 2017. George Norrie is one of the people that'll be there, I think. All right, so
I may be able to get to that one. I want to get to Sedona in April. Maybe I could do a whole trip for two of them. So.
Okay. Well, it was a pleasure. Let's keep in touch. See you in the future. This was a very, very powerful, very love-filled interview.
Thank you, Andrew. It's been an honor. Thank you so much for your entrustment and belief in me.
It's been an honor and a privilege here. Take care now.
Love you.
Love you too.
Okay.